Hello, ladies, and welcome back to season 3 of the Flourish Women podcast. This is where we take on real life issues and meet them with godly truth, wisdom, and transparency. My name is Lakeer Duff, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today, I have co-host Lori.
Hey, Lori in the building. Season 3 in the house. What's up? Hey. Season 3 in the house. What's up? Hey.
I knew it was coming. And we got AD.
Hey.
Y'all see how they be hyping me up?
And we have our beloved Lady Taryn. Hey.
Oh, that's good.
It's official.
No, you need one.
Yeah. No drama.
Right.
Mama.
We'll bring that back next episode. Okay, so ladies, welcome to season 3. We are excited to be back with you. Please let us know how your day is going. Drop it in the comments. Let us know. You are part of our extended family, so we want to hear from you too. So, ladies, before we jump into our topic, you know how we do. We have our segment called You Grow Girl.
You grow, girl. That's good. That's good.
So this segment, for those of you who are new, this segment, we just like to take a second to recognize our wins. Our saying here is it doesn't matter how fast you're moving as long as you're moving. So major, minor win, we want to celebrate. So who wants to take the You Grow Girl segment today?
I think it should be
Not me.
I'll take it.
All right, Lori.
All right, y'all.
All right, what you
So
got?
how many of you are that friend that everybody comes to for advice? Everybody comes to, oh, you're doing this and you know so much, or they just think you always available even though you're not. So I'll tell y'all a growth moment. So my growth moment was limiting the access that people have to me. So for the last couple months, like, I schedule the times I'm gonna talk to you on the phone. I barely text you back. But my friends and my family, they know. Like, I send a message, hey, for a couple months, I'm gonna be off the grid, whatever the case may be. And I'm proud of myself, because usually I'd be like, well, such and such is going through this. You gotta be there for them. Like, Jesus got them. So
Yeah.
I think, that's what I had to tell
good.
myself. Jesus got them. And so you just got to know what season you're in. And so I was super excited to be like, girl, you growing, because back in the day, you would have been like, well, let me call and check on such and such. It's like, go to your prayer closet for such and such. So that's my growth moment.
That's huge.
You
grow, girl.
That takes a lot. That takes a lot,
A lot.
especially if you're that friend and you love to, and you have a big heart and you like to be there for people. I think sometimes that is very hard. So
Very.
you grow, girl.
You grow, girl.
I love that. So you guys, season 3, we're adding a little bit something different. So we have another segment that we want to drop in really quick, just because I think it's good to recognize those who have made impact or made an impact in our lives. And so we have a segment that we're going to call Give Her Her Flowers. Give it up, give it up, give it up. Okay.
Give it up. Hey, give it up, give it up, give it up.
That's off the top. I guess we gonna stick with that. Is that what we
Give
gonna
it
do?
up.
I'm sorry.
Give
That
it
makes
up.
me a little nervous.
Give it up, give it up, give it up.
Forget where I am.
Why, you hear that?
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Bring it back. Come back. Come on back. Reel it over.
Right, I like that.
I was about to start dancing here.
Hey. Throw the chair away. Go ahead, girl. So, this, like I said, is just a second where we take a moment to really thank someone who is doing something great, who's made an impact in our lives, or who is just an amazing person overall. So, if you ladies don't mind, I want to take this one.
All right. Give it up.
If you don't mind.
Okay, we don't mind.
Okay. So I want to take a second to give my mentor turned into friend, turned into family member her flowers, and her name is Kimberly Angel.
Hey, Kimberly.
So Kimberly, I met her really quick. I met her Wells Fargo. She wasn't even supposed to be my manager, but somehow they realigned our business model, and she became my manager. And after that, we instantly clicked. You know, she did a really good job of modeling for me what it looked like to grow and to take the initiative, put myself out there and go after what I want in the corporate setting. But then she also took the time to just talk to me as an individual, as a person. What are my goals? What do I want? And I think that's
Wow.
important.
Yeah.
And a manager, I put that on Facebook the other day, managers are so important. And so she did a really good job of just kind of helping shape and mold me to where I am. She's helped me stand up for myself. And even
good.
now with like a baby coming and like buying a home and stuff like that, she's been there for those big moments
That's
to
good.
just offer advice and just say, I'm here for you, So she's turned into family. So I just want to take a second.
Go, Kim.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Kim, do you offer trainings for other managers?
Yeah, I'm her manager, so talk to me. Cash App.
Yes, so thank you so much, Kimberly. So that is a new segment that we'll be
Love
doing.
it.
And then, ladies, if you have someone that has impacted your life or that is just doing something great, leave that in the comments. Tag her. Let her know. Give her her flowers
That's
while
good.
she's here.
Yes.
I think it's important to show love to those who show love to us. So let's jump into our topic for today. So our topic to kick off season 3 is about shame.
That's
Shame.
It's a heavy one right
Shame.
now. Yes.
What you gonna
What
get?
we gonna get?
So
Double.
tell me, ladies, what is your definition of shame? When you think about people in this topic, what do you think of? What's your definition?
Woo, that's deep. Look here.
Yeah, this is a heavy one.
Embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Humiliation.
Yep.
Yeah, I think of all of that. I think for me, when I was thinking about shame, I thought about like, is this big emotion? However, the embarrassment piece is where I feel that people ponder on the most when it comes to shame. So just pondering on that embarrassment and dwelling on that, for me, that's what I thought about with shame.
Yeah. So have you ever had a situation where you felt shame?
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for me, just looking at, before I really started getting serious about my walk with God, I went through a phase where I was about to graduate from college, and it was kind of like an oppression for me because of everything that I had did, choices that I had made down the road, and feeling like, I didn't want anybody to even know a lot of the stuff that, I did. And so for me, it was like a burden. And even like prior to getting married, meeting my husband and having to share things with him, because I'm like, I want him to know me. You probably remember me sharing that in the previous episode, but like wanting him to know me, but having to break through that shame of my past. And so for me, I realized like, oh, I'm really free if I can share this. I really have gotten over this part of shame that I once dealt with. Because previous people, like, I would not have ever shared anything like that because of shame.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What about you, ladies?
I would say going through, so I was married previously, obviously in other episodes you probably heard me say that. I would say going through a very open marriage, not open marriage in your terms, but open marriage meaning inviting, like I had a very big wedding. So I had a public success in my marriage, which was the big wedding. And then it was a public embarrassment when I felt like the marriage failed. So not even playing the blaming game, but either party, it felt like shame. It brought shame on me for a very, very, very long time. So just dealing with that, like you said, humiliation, embarrassment. You have to now see people. Folks are asking questions. They no longer see pictures. They no longer see the ring on your finger. And, everybody is questioning, hey, what's going on? Are you still married? So that brought a lot of shame in a sense.
Yeah, I agree. For me, normally people feel shameful about public things, but mine was more shameful about things I did in private that people didn't even know, but I knew God knew. And so for me, it was like beating yourself up. Number one, knowing I know and God know. But number two, I knew also I had to share with my husband. And, when you about to get married or engaged, they're not judgmental, but you got to really kind of be like, well, I don't know. So I think for me, just first me acknowledging it, like one thing I had to tell myself was you can't punish yourself for your 19-year-old self because you're not that person anymore. And your 19-year-old self was not as smart, as wise, and wherever you were then, that your decisions you made then was because of the mindset you had then. So once I realized that, I'm like, okay, the shame, start decreasing, because I can't punish myself for, let's say you was in a depression moment, or you in college and you going through something, you do something that's shameful. I can't punish myself at 35 when back then that's what I would have done.
Yeah,
at 35,
yeah.
I'm not going to do that. But yeah, so for me, that's example for me with the shame.
That's something good that you pointed out about that, because I feel like it's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is like, I think it deals more with the action. Shame is more about an internal thing. It's like guilt is like my actions were bad, and shame is like I am bad. And so understanding that difference, when I looked into that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, and that's why I feel, people will feel that way. Even myself have felt that way just with dealing with shame, because then it feels like you're basically condemning yourself, for something that.
That's good.
That's really good. And you two have both hit on something that I was thinking about. And I think it goes very well into my next question is like, what are some ways people can get past or overcome shame? I know you said like you can't blame yourself for what you did when you were 19. But then like you said, it's like those internal, like, I am bad type of mindsets and emotions that kind of hold you back and make you feel shameful. So what are some ways that people can kind of overcome that or get past that internal I am bad?
I think the first thing would be forgiveness. Like, you have to come to grips with what you did or what you're thinking or whatever, whether it was public or private, and have to say, you know what? That's no longer going to have hold over my life. I'm no longer going to hang that over my own head. And you have to forgive yourself, and then forgive whatever other party is involved as well. I think once that forgiveness takes place, like, everything will start to kind of smooth on out for you.
Yeah. I would say one thing that I had to really kind of change my mindset on is the fact that, like, I am entitled to change.
That's
like
good.
I'm entitled to grow. Like you said, Lori, I'm not my 19, 20-year-old self. So for me, I don't think I answered the last question, but for me, I was very shameful about like how I handled a lot of my past relationships and like some of the stuff that I put up with, and some of the, like, I see some relationships now and I'm like, I don't know how she's putting up with that. But then at the same time, it was like, that was me. Like, and I felt really bad because I'm like, how could I let somebody treat me that way? You know what I'm saying? So I felt really bad, and I didn't want to talk about it for the longest time because I felt like I should have known better in a sense. But like then also coming to grips with, I'm allowed to change. So I'm allowed to say no to certain things. Like, I'm allowed to say, like you said, Lori, you can't have access to me this week. Like, it's my growth. Like, this is for me. Like, I think putting in place some things to like boundaries or settings to say, you know what, this is what I have to do for me. Like, that kind of helps you overcome shame. Like, you know what, that was me at one point, but it's not me anymore. And that's okay.
I was gonna say, I think it's important, like you say, just to have an awareness of it. So sometimes you might be feeling shame, but you don't want to call it out,
Say that.
And you have to call it for what it is. Like, if you're ready to get over it, if you're ready to stop being oppressed by it and depressed and dealing with all of those emotions, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna call this thing out. Yes, this is shame. I'm feeling this way. And of course, as a believer in Christ, it's like, all right, Lord, well, what does his word say? What does his word say about this? He said that there is no condemnation. I think it's important to make an exchange with those thoughts that you're having, that you're beating yourself up with, that shame that's trying to stay on you, and make an exchange with the word of God. And I feel like that is one of the areas where, it's good to invest in if you're trying to really overcome that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to second that. One of the things I was thinking about as Lady Taryn was speaking that was, I heard Dr. Anita Phillips say one time, and I do it with my clients, but connect your emotions or your brokenness to your behavior. And that's one way you can acknowledge it, to say, hey, I'm feeling shameful, but I remember this same feeling when my daddy left me. I felt like it was me, I felt ashamed, and I don't want to tell my friends, okay, it's showing up now as your adult self. And so I'm connecting that. oh, now I can acknowledge it and be like, okay, this is really shame. Because I remember that when I was 12, so connecting it together. So I think that's one strategy we don't do. We just want to go straight to the solution and be like, it's shame, let me go. It's like, no, connect it. Where's this emotion coming from? What's going on? And then connecting it to the word of God.
So I definitely agree, Lori. That's a really good point. I have one more question for you, ladies. So has shame ever led you to accept like thoughts about yourself? Because I know earlier you said, you think like I'm bad and that's how shame will get you. But like, have you ever accepted labels, other labels or other people's words about you?
Absolutely. I think with shame, or any emotion, but because we're talking about shame, I think it's so easy to have any other emotions or any other negative things attached to that. So you're going through, you're shameful, you're embarrassed, you're humiliated. So with that can add on a lot of other crazy emotions that will cause depression and oppression and just you being sad, you being, all of these things. But I know in my situation, going through my separation and then divorce, I started thinking about all the reasons why this did not work out. So all of a sudden, my confidence levels were down. And I started feeling like, I didn't have confidence. I wasn't intelligent. I wasn't pretty. I wasn't this. I wasn't that. So all of these negative things like just kind of attach themselves to you. That's why you got to be careful. If you listen, if you are shameful about anything in your life, I'm telling you, you gotta walk in freedom from that, because all of these other things will quickly, it's almost like a magnet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're asking for all of these other negative emotions and behaviors and people to enter into your life. You gotta evict that stuff.
Yeah.
Say that.
No.
And sometimes people not even knowing it will say something and you'll hold on and attach to that one thing that person said. I mean, it happens in other areas of your life, but when you said that, it made me think about that. Like, how many times has somebody just said something and you're like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, it happened to me, so I must not be pretty enough, or I'm not smart enough. You know what I'm saying? And then like you hold on to those labels. And like you said, you have to free yourself from that. So really think about like, what other people have said, like, and is that really
that's
me?
good.
And cast it down.
That's it. Come on. Yep. That's what the word tells us to do.
That's good.
Take every thought.
Hello.
What about
Every
y'all?
thought.
Anything else?
So with that question, I think for me, I was thinking about how you have people who say, you just like your mama, you just like your daddy. And it's kind of like an ongoing thing where you're like, oh, the apple don't fall far from the tree. And so even for myself, and it's absolutely nothing, wrong with my parents. I thank God for them. I love them. But just seeing certain things that, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's like them, or I wonder if I'm this way because of that, or just things that, growing up, I may have seen just from different family members, and then trying to attach, my actions or my behavior to them. Yes, I get it. You want to be mindful of generational curses and things like that, which I also believe there's a such thing as generational blessings.
Yes, it is.
But, not allowing that mindset to get so heavily, deeply rooted in you that it overrides what God is saying about you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I would say for me, mine was a relationship based. I was so shameful about how I allowed somebody to treat me and what they instilled in me while I was in a relationship with them. Like, I remember a guy used to say, like, you live in this fantasy world, nobody's going to keep opening the door for you. Like, I would take that on. I'm like, no, that's not a fantasy. Like, what? And so I'm like, I would be like, you're right. Let me just go for the bare minimum, And so I would say, like, with that, you really, really got to be careful. And then I started speaking that, like, I wouldn't accept, a good man. It was hard for me to even accept all right, my husband is good. What does he want? Or, like,
That's too good to be
it's
true.
too good to be true. Okay, I'm just trying to see what's going to be next. It was hard. And then God had to say, okay, you either going to miss out on your husband or you're going to get in line. And I'm like, okay, show me how to get in line. So, I had to get focused. I had to say,
Align me, Lord.
Because I'm going to miss out. So I would say even now, and related to now, like, I'm very careful. I protect my ears. Even with friendships, even with families, when they're going through some things, sometimes I have to be like, all right, girl, I'll call you later. Like, because I cannot hear certain stuff, because you got to remember where you came from, and I'm not going back there. Not saying hang the phone up on your people, don't talk to them, but I'm very mindful. And let's just say, not even protecting your ears with your friends, but just what are you hearing on a daily basis? If you're at home cleaning up, do you have what's in your ear? You listen to a podcast, like what is it? Because those negative thoughts sometimes can come back. You know, something can trigger you with shame or whatever. So I'm really big on like the internal shame, working on that more than the external shame.
For me, it's TV. Like, I can't watch, like, certain TV shows if it's, like, about, you know, marriage and they're cheating, they're doing that. Because then you see images, the thoughts come in your head, well, if they could do it on the TV show, you know, he could be doing it in real life. And then you got this whole, and it's like, right.
We're going to have to do a whole episode on the mind.
That's a good one. Note that one. So, but so that was really good. Did anybody else have anything to add to that before?
That was rich.
Okay. All right. I think so too. I agree. So before we go, ladies, if you're new to the Flourish Women podcast, at the end of every episode, we like to do what we call our Selah moment. We're getting it. So we like to do our Selah moment where we take a second to really dive deep into the word and maybe give you more clarity, a different perspective, maybe just a little bit more understanding on God's word. And so today, I'm going to pass this Selah moment over to AD. What you got for us?
All right, so I'm gonna try to talk real quick, but I got my notes right here. So, you know, in the Bible, it talks about, you know, how Jesus is crucified, right? So he's rejected, he's despised, he's ridiculed by everybody, right? They're mocking him, they're spitting on him, they're abusing him, and he was in such bad shape that nobody even recognized him. Even the people that he created in his image did not recognize him, right? But now, looking at God's life, Jesus' life, like we all know he didn't deserve that, right? You know, when you look at his life, you look at his ministry, he loved perfectly, he served perfectly, he healed perfectly, he restored, he brought restoration to life, and he brought value, he brought worth, all of these great things that, you know, the people in the Bible encountered, right? So he infused hope when there was no hope, right? He mended things that were desperately broken, like all of these great attributes. Jesus holds, right, in his hands, right? But he didn't just bear our sin on the cross. He also bore our shame.
Yes, he did.
And in doing that, he has taken our shame from us.
Yes,
and he's giving us the righteousness, his righteousness, right? And I can honestly say this with confidence, that if you're experiencing shame in your life, like you're not experiencing God's fullness in your life. Like if you're experiencing shame, you're not experiencing life the way that God, the way that Jesus Christ has intended you to live life. Like you're not supposed to be living life like that. So if you do have shame, like he definitely wants to set you free. He wants to give you that truth and set you free from all shame that you're dealing with, that you previously dealt with, that's trying to creep back up in your life. Like if you know somebody who's dealing with shame, that's not the way that God is intending you to live life. And when the enemy comes to you with that guilt and shame, tell him he can go and measure how far the east is from the west and then get back to you, because that's how far God has removed the sin and shame from your life. The east, the west, the north, the south.
Come on.
You can take the lug nuts, all of it. Take the whole car. Listen,
that's good.
Listen, that's not the way that God intended you to live life. So walk in freedom.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
That's so good.
Be free.
That's good. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom.
Yes.
Freedom.
That's so good. That is so good. Ladies, like she said, if you are experiencing shame, you know someone that's experiencing shame and they just really want that weight to be lifted, or if you know someone, or if you just need prayer, please reach out to our Flowing Life page, comment, let us know. We can have someone pray with you, because that is not how God intended us to live. That's not what he created us to do. So thank you, AD. That was great. That was really good.
That's good.
So, ladies, that is the end of our episode, our first episode of season 3. I can't get over that. We're on season 3 already.
Yes.
Season 3. Hey.
So, ladies, listen, if you are ever in the Charlotte area, please feel free to drop by. We would love to see you at Flowing Life. We are here in Charlotte. If you have any questions about the ministry, please feel free to reach out to us. DM us. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to see you in person. Our doors are open. We are here in the building, ready to see you. So definitely stop by. If you cannot stop by, you can definitely check us out on all streaming platforms. We are here to serve you. So, ladies, y'all have anything else you want to add before we go today?
No, this was awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, like, share, and subscribe. And until the next episode, we will see you later.
Woo!